We do start, though, with some breaking news at this hour. Hundreds of court filings expected to begin to start being unsealed today. They will contain the names of people associated with Jeffrey Epstein, the late sex offender and disgraced financier. This all comes after a New York federal judge ruled last month that there's no legal justification to conceal more than 150 names previously redacted in these documents. Now, the records are part of a settled civil defamation lawsuit relating to allegations of Epstein's former paramour, Ghislaine Maxwell, facilitated the sexual abuse of one of his victims.
The documents are all part of this defamation lawsuit that settled 6.5 years ago between Virginia Giuffre, who alleges that she was one of Epstein's trafficked victims, made to have been a sex slave and ordered by Epstein, and Ghislaine Maxwell to have sex with powerful men, allegations that the men who've been named publicly have denied, and Maxwell too. But this lawsuit...
Pretty wild to think that, like, a big chunk of Alan Dershowitz, the Dersh's media appearances, specifically on Fox News, revolve around, like, shitting on Virginia Giuffre. There was a period in time when Alan Dershowitz the Dersh was basically on every Fox News program, and every time they had Alan Dershowitz, the Dersh, on any Fox News program, he would go on and start off, no matter how irrelevant the subject matter is, by shitting on Virginia Giuffre.
It settled 6.5 years ago, and gradually the records associated with it have been unsealed. The names that are going to come out are listed as Jane and John Does, and most of them have been publicly associated with Epstein before to varying degrees. People like Prince Andrew, who Giuffre alleged she was ordered to have sex with, which he denied. They settled their own lawsuit. And people like former President Bill Clinton, who has never been accused of any wrongdoing associated with Epstein, but who flew on Epstein's private plane multiple times. So those are the kinds of names that we expect to be unmasked in records, but we've known about many of them for years.
It's just like RFK Jr., Bill Clinton, Donald Trump, all the names that we knew already are going to be recycled, which is why, I mean, I like it though, because ultimately it kind of shows that it is a bipartisan thing. The sex trafficking of minors and the partnerships that American elite have with minor sex traffickers is bipartisan. You know, Americans align on this. So I like covering that, or I have no issues recycling that.
So many of the names, some of them bold-faced, some of them not, many of them have long been associated with Epstein, and in fact, some of them may well have already testified at trial when Maxwell was convicted of aiding Epstein's deviant sexual behavior.
All right, Aaron and Brian, our thanks to you as always.
Hi, everyone. George.
Yo, that I did not know. What the hell? Stephen Hawking pictured on Jeffrey Epstein's sex slave Caribbean island? Renowned British theoretical physicist Stephen Hawking enjoys a barbecue on Jeffrey Epstein's Caribbean island, Little St. James, while attending a conference on gravity organized for 21 of the world's top physicists by Epstein's Foundation on neighboring. Dude, what? Hawking had a thick 8 and laid mad pipe, it is known. Chatter, you will not see the pearly gates. You are going straight to hell, man. I didn't know this. I didn't know that this is old news, apparently. Yeah, dude, his wife divorced him for cheating with his aide. Yeah, I thought that was a bit. Like, I thought Nick Mullen was lying about that. Ghislaine Maxwell breaks silence via attorney. It's all about men abusing women for a long period of time, and it's only one person in jail, a woman. Yeah, the other person in jail is dead. Dude, I love how everyone's a liberal. Bro, she's using, like, liberal idpol to be like, guys, I know I facilitated in the sex trafficking of minors, but guess what? I was being a real girl boss while I was doing it. I know I was his entry point into elite society and elite circles, okay, as the daughter of a former Mossad OSS agent who died under mysterious circumstances after bankrupting his newspaper. It's crazy that she's hitting the I'm a girl boss and that's why they won't let me thrive angle. God damn. Unredacted Epstein documents. Ghislaine Maxwell says Clinton never had a meal on Epstein's island. She's asked about her relationship with Doug Bann, who worked for Clinton. Another example, defendant refused to answer questions about her knowledge that Johanna Schoberg was hired to work for Epstein and provide a massage. In the police report, Johanna admitted that Maxwell recruited her to work for Epstein. Do you know what task Johanna was hired to perform. She was tasked to answer telephones. Did you ever ask her to rub Jeffrey's feet? I believe that I have read that, but I don't have any memory of it. Elon's going to be on there and he's going to shut down Twitter. No, not Elon, but Elon's brother is. For those of you who don't know, Kimball Musk is a Jeffrey Epstein associate, a known Jeffrey Epstein associate. But yeah, his brother literally was like dating one of Jeffrey Epstein's girls, as a matter of fact, and frequently spent time in Jeffrey Epstein's New York mansion. Yes, Elon Musk's brother, Kimball Musk. Did you ever tell Joanna that she would get extra money if she provided Jeffrey massages? I was always happy to give career advice to people. Career advice. Nice. Jesus Christ. And I think that becoming somebody in the healthcare profession, either exercise instructor, or nutritionist, or professional massage therapist, is an excellent job opportunity. Hourly wages are around $7, $8, $9. And as a professional healthcare provider, you can earn somewhere between, as we've established, 100, 200, and be able to travel and have a job that pays a wonderful job opportunity. So in the context of advising people for opportunities to work, it is possible that I would have said that she should explore that as an option. What, rubbing Jeffrey Epstein's feet? But of course, contextually. Dude, contextually in the job opportunity field, dude, everyone who's a Jeffrey Epstein associate, when asked questions, responds in the funniest ways possible. It's like Prince Andrew being like, no, actually, I'm incapable of sweating. Famously, it's impossible for me to sweat. I have a disease specifically that renders it impossible for me to sweat. Famously. All right, CNN is covering the files.
But this is all, part of this law. News organizations and, just other information that has come out over the 20 years that Epstein has been alleged to have been involved in this sex trafficking operation. So we're starting to see some of these names come out. And Virginia Giuffre has been very public about her allegations, accusing prominent politicians of having been forced to have sex with them, as well as her allegations against Prince Andrew. She had reached a settlement with the prince where he's agreed to make a sizable donation. So we're going to go through these documents to see if we're learning any new names or new allegations. But a lot of this information has already been public, and that is why the judge has agreed to unseal it. Well,
we'll see what happens. Kara Scannell, thank you very much. Into our
every single one of Jeffrey Epstein's associates has defended themselves in the weirdest ways possible, from the classic Alan Dershowitz, I always had my underwear on defense. Oh, God, CNN skipped it already. What the hell?
I think the genie now is out of the bottle. They may have tried to do something. There'd be an argument that they could make this could cause them a lot of security.
Bro, one of the confidential depositions that were unredacted shows Johannes Schoberg, who told a previous story about Prince Andrew putting a puppet hand on Jeffrey's breast. At one point, Ghislaine told me to come upstairs, and we went into a closet and pulled out the puppet, the caricature of Prince Andrew, and brought it down. And there was a little tag on the puppet that said Prince Andrew on it. And that's when I knew who he was. And I did. What did the puppet look like? It looked like him. And she brought it down and presented it to him. And that was a great joke, because apparently it was a production from a show on BBC, and they decided to take a picture with it, in which Virginia and Andrew sat on the couch. They put the puppets on Virginia's lap, and I sat on Andrew's lap, and they put the puppet's hand on Virginia's breast, and Andrew put his hand on my breast, and they took a photo. Do you remember who took the photo? I don't recall. Did you ever see the photo after it was taken? I did not. That's the puppet. Oh, God, it's so gross, dude.
The producers of Spitting Image have very kindly offered me a chance to speak directly to you, the public. Come down, they said. Sit right there in that chair, they said, and hold your head just like this.
Oh, this is 943 pages. I think this is everything. From what? Gmax LMAX to Philip Bart and Ross Gow, the Terramar Project. Oh, Gmax is Ghislaine's email account. I'm out of my depth to understanding defamation and other legal hazards, and don't want to end up in a lawsuit aimed at me from anyone if I can't help it. Apparently, even saying Virginia is a liar has hazard. I've never been in a suit, criminal or civil, and wanted to stay that way, said Ghislaine Maxwell on Saturday, January 10th, 2015. Oops, now you're in prison. Dude, I want to know. Okay, let's get it twisted. One such powerful individual that Epstein forced the then minor Jane Doe to have sexual relations was with former Harvard law professor Alan Dershowitz, a close friend of Jeffrey and well-known criminal defense attorney, well-known for also defending, in the future, the state of Israel. Alan Dershowitz, also known as the Dersh. 48 mentions of Alan. Goddamn. Epstein required Jane Doe 3 to have sexual relations with Dershowitz on numerous occasions while she was a minor, not only in Florida, but also on private planes in New York, New Mexico. Is this the real court document, man? Epstein required Jane Doe 3 to have sexual relations with Dershowitz on numerous occasions while she was a minor, not only in Florida, but also on private planes in New York, New Mexico, and U.S. Virgin Islands. In addition to being participant in the abuse of Jane Doe 3 and other minors, Dershowitz was an eyewitness to the sexual abuse of many other minors by Epstein and several of Epstein's co-conspirators. Dershowitz would later play a significant role in negotiating the MPA on Epstein's behalf. Indeed, Dershowitz helped negotiate an agreement that provided immunity from federal prosecution in the Southern District of Florida, not only to Epstein, but also to any potential co-conspirators of Epstein. This is a key fact, by the way. This is very important. The prosecutor, the federal prosecutor in the state of Florida at the time that gave him that sweetheart plea deal said, his name was Alex Acosta. You might recognize him from the Donald Trump administration because Donald Trump made Alexander Acosta his labor secretary. However, at the time, Alex Acosta had specifically stated that the order came from above. Go to page 207 on the document. Wild? Why? What's going on? I was living in secret about what I was doing during the massages, and I did not want my friends to know what I was doing, so I did not want anyone else coming into that. Was Bill Clinton a friend of Jeffrey Epstein? Objection, Foundation, says Miss Menninger by Miss Cawley. Let me back up. Do you know if Bill Clinton was a friend of Jeffrey Epstein? I knew he had dealings with Bill Clinton. I did not know they were friends until I read the Vanity Fair article about them going to Africa together. Did Jeffrey ever talk to you about Bill Clinton? He said one time that Clinton likes them young, referring to girls. Did you ever recall taking a trip to Jeffrey Epstein's home in New Mexico? That's where the Clintons used to go to, by the way, all the time. That's the crazy ranch that the Clintons would frequently go to. And do you recall who went on that trip with? Sarah Kellen was there. Ghislaine was there. That's all I recall. Do you recall why you went on the trip to New Mexico to work, to perform massage on that trip? Yes. Do you recall whether you performed massages with Sarah Kellen on that trip? No. Do you recall in the New Mexico home ever observing nude photos of females there? I don't recall. When you would provide massages, would you provide those massages naked? On occasion. On average, would you be naked if it was 100% of the time, more than 50% of the time? Can you repeat it? Sure. When you're performing the massage, can you tell me, you said on occasion, over the 5 years that you worked for him, how often did you perform massages naked? Somewhere between 25 to 50% of the time. Did Epstein try to make the massage sexual? On occasion. Would Epstein have you rub his nipples? Yes. Would he masturbate during the massages? Yes. Did he use sex toys or vibrators on you? Yes. Would he leave the sex toys or vibrators out after massage, or would he clean them up after himself? Objection. Vague. Form. He did not ever clean up. Do you believe that your experience during the years you were with Jeffrey and Maxwell damaged you? Objection. Leading. Form. It affected me. Damaged is a strong word. Oh, this is, wait, whoa. Is this the OG? Is this the OG? Okay, we'll get back to 209 in a second. Did you train Virginia how to recruit girls to perform sexual massages? Wait, hold up. Let me see what Trump is up to in here. Whoa, just a casino. And do you recall where you flew when you traveled that first time with Jeffrey Epstein? We left from Palm Beach and landed in Atlantic City for a few hours because there was a storm in New York, then got back on the plane and landed in Teterboro. And you say you recall landing in Atlantic City. Did you go into Atlantic City? Yes, we went to one of Trump's casinos. Did you actually go into the casino itself? Do you recall Virginia at the time, Virginia Roberts being present with you? Yes. Do you recall if she was went to the casino? She was underage. Dude, I'm sorry, but that's like funny in a very tragic and very dark way that like she can't go into the casino, but also is flying with Jeffrey Epstein. I did not know anything about how old you had to be to gamble legally. Like, it's insane. Like, she's not old enough to go into a casino, but she's like being blown around by Jeffrey Epstein. Jesus Christ. Brutal. I just knew she could not get in because of an ID issue, so she and I did not gamble. In your opinion, did Virginia look young in your view? Yes. Did you wish at the time we wonder why she was traveling with Jeffrey? At that time, I did not. Did you later wonder that? Yes. And what was your impression? Objection, vague, speculative. We're jumping ahead. Is that okay? Yes, that's okay. A few days later, I remember asking her questions to try to figure out her role while she was there, and she gave me vague answers and was never specific. Okay, let's look at the other Trump mention. Jeffrey said, great, we'll call up Trump and we'll go to, I don't recall the name of the casino. We'll go to the casino. What happened with the ID issue? Objection. All I knew was that she was not going to be allowed to gamble, so I spent time with her. We were just walking around. I don't remember what we did because either she didn't have an ID or she was too young. I don't remember specifically why. I just knew that she could not gamble. Okay, so you walked around with her in Atlantic City. In the casino. We never left the casino. Were you disappointed that you couldn't gamble? That's a silly question, I feel like. Anyway, whatever. No. When you were walking around and talking to her, did you learn anything about her? Not that I recall. Do you have an impression about why she was on the trip? At that point, no. It was just new to the whole thing. George Lucas? What the Did any of the guests for whom you gave a massage mention that they were expecting something sexual? No. Did they ask you to engage in sexual contact and refused? Objection. The witness, no. Marvin Minsky, I don't know that. George Lucas, no. Donald Trump, no. Did you ever massage Donald Trump? No. Sorry, I have to ask, but did you ever have sex with Alan Dershowitz in the back of a limousine with Virginia and Jeffrey present? Absolutely not. Do you know who Alan Dershowitz is? I do. You would remember. I would remember that. Did you ever see Virginia Jeffries with any of the people that I just asked you about? No. Did Virginia ever talk to you about having been with any of those people? Objection. The witness says no. Did she tell you that she had met any of those people? No. I believe you saw that in a police report, a reference to a friend of Jeffrey named Glenn and his wife. Do you remember them? Vaguely. Tell me what you remember. Okay, there's not much on Trump here. Alan Dershowitz is mentioned on here a lot, dude. Les Wexner, Tom Pritzker, Kevin Spacey. I may have already asked you, but have you met Kevin Spacey? No. Bill Richardson of New Mexico. Jean-Luc Brunel. Or if you search with his last name, they don't always use Alan. They name him. Oh my God. Oh my God. When you put his last name in, there's 137 mentions. Oh my God. The Dersh. Yeah, I read this already. Epstein required Jane Doe to have sexual relations with Dershowitz on numerous occasions while she was a minor in private planes. This is what the attorney was saying was happening. It's not like witness testimony. Ghislaine Maxwell was another person in Epstein's inner circle and a co-conspirator. She was someone who consequently also appreciated the immunity granted by the MPA for the crime she committed in Florida. Oh yeah, this is the what is it, like the no prosecution agreement, right? Or is it NOLO? It's probably some Latin word, but that's what it is, right? They're talking about Alan Dershowitz, like no prosecution agreement that he pushed for. What is that? Is that what it's called? NOLO prosecute or whatever? Alexander, no contest, NOLO, no contest, whatever. Dershowitz helped negotiate an agreement with the provision that provided protection for himself against criminal prosecution of Florida for sexually abusing Jane Doe 3. Because his broad immunity would have been controversial if disclosed, Dershowitz, along with members of Epstein's defense team and the government, tried to keep the immunity provision secret from all of Epstein's victims and the general public, even though such secrecy violated the Crime Victims' Rights Act. Nolle prosequi is when they don't prosecute you in the limited time frame that they're allowed to prosecute you. There's like a window. Look at page 288. Dershowitz was saying nothing was happening. He was just calling her a liar, and she was just trying to find people to back up her story. And what did you understand her story to be? Did she tell you that she was recruited to give massages, sexual massages, and have sex with people such as Dershowitz and Andrew? But I knew none of that at the time. Right. Did you tell them anything? Did you tell them during that meeting that you knew of anything about her being recruited to give sex to either Jeffrey or to other people? Objection. Can you rephrase? Yes, that wasn't a very good question. Don't own up to that, Miss Menninger. What did you say during this meeting with Virginia and her investigator? Basically that I believed her, even though she never spoke to me specifically about that, what was going on. 1 second. I'm going to put on the Kaya cam. Hello. Look at that. Little baby Kaya. Basically that I believed her, even though she never spoke to me specifically about what was going on, that once I learned everything that happened based on reading the police report, I believed her side of the story. And did she tell you what her side of the story was? You know, just that she wasn't a liar, that, you know, she was there to have sex with men that Jeffrey wanted her to sleep with. Did she tell you in that meeting who she had sex with? No. Did she name any of the famous people? Only Dershowitz came up. Did you two talk about the incident in New York with the puppet? I don't recall. And you formed this opinion about whether she was a liar based on things that you've read in the police report? Objection. I formed my opinion based on my experience in the house. Okay, what was the experience in the house help you form your opinion that what Virginia's saying is true? You know, Jeffrey being open with me about what other girls did for him and that I was not one of those girls. He was always trying to recruit me almost in a way that I could be one of them and travel with them and live the life of luxury if only I did this. So after 5 years of learning what was happening, I can look back knowing I only knew Virginia for a very short time. Looking back, I can make assumptions about what was required of her. Did she tell you how old she was when she said she started working with Jeffrey? She didn't. Did she tell you how long she worked with Jeffrey? No. Have you read all the things that have been attributed to her in the press? Many of them. I don't know that I've read all of them, but I've read some. In this meeting with Virginia and the investigator, you said Ghislaine Maxwell did not come up. Will this end Dersh's career? No. Alan Dershowitz is gross, dog. That's kind of a superpower. When you're that gross, there's like not really anything that can take you down. Everybody pretty much knows he's disgusting. He's like a disgusting, filthy little pervert, right? So it almost becomes like that under other circumstances would be considered awful, right? It would be a career ender. I'll give you an example from Twitch. It's an opposite comparison. It's kind of like Pokimane, right? Pokimane has cultivated an image that is like, you know, very brand friendly. So when she does something, whether intentionally or unintentionally, and it is like a little out of pocket, she gets an extra amount of scrutiny for that, and people make a much larger deal about that because her brand is not tarnished. The way she presents herself is overall very positive. Whereas when you talk about a guy like Alan Dershowitz, it's the exact opposite. you expect him to be a filthy little pervert anyway. So when you hear more about him being a filthy little pervert, you're like, oh, that's just par for the course. The point is, everybody basically understands he's like a psycho. He's a freak. So there's no double standard there. There's no hypocrisy there. You have to understand, people care more about hypocrisy than they care about death. You could be a murderer and be like, I'm a murderer, dog. This is what I do. And if you do another murder, people will be like, oh, no, that's normal. Like, you're a murderer. That's what you do. People are more mad, both online and in general, about not even real hypocrisy, but perceived hypocrisy than they are about like someone who's just a bad guy doing more bad shit. That's why the standards are very different for the likes of genuinely evil people who are openly evil. Yeah, it's like if you were to do a crypto gambling stream versus Trainwreck's doing a crypto gambling stream. Pretty much the same. Yes, exactly. It's the same as people yelling at me about random shit like buying a car, buying a house is expensive, but they would never in a million years offer a similar style of scrutiny to anyone else because they perceive that to be a hypocritical act for someone like myself. Oh, by the way, Clinton Likes Him Young is featured in this as well, for the record. Damn, bro. It's crazy that Bill Clinton's name is mentioned less than Alan Dershowitz. The Dersh! 100 times less. Well, to be fair, the Dersh did actually defend Epstein. I can't recall having a meal with them, but just so we're clear, the allegation that Clinton had a meal on Jeffrey's Island is 100% false. But he may have had a meal on his plane. Yes, I'm sure he had a meal on his plane. How do you know how many times he flew on Jeffrey's plane? I don't. Do you know who Doug Band is? I do. How do you know him? He used to work or still works for Bill Clinton. Did you ever have a relationship with him? We are talking about adult consensual relationships. It's off the record. I'm not asking what you did with him. I'm asking if you ever had, confidential relationship with him. If you understand the term relationship, certainly you can answer that. Define relationship. Someone that you would have spent time together, either seeing them in a romantic relationship, or you need to be, what do you mean by romantic? I was friends with Doug, but you are suggesting something more, so I want to be clear what you were actually asking me. You defined it. You said you were friends with him. If that's what you were, that's all I need to know. While you were on the trip with President Clinton, do you recall where you stayed at these locations? In other words, would you leave the jet and stay overnight at a hotel? Do you have a recollection of this trip? I recollect the trip, but if you're asking me where we stayed, you can see it's a very fast-paced trip. It was very tiring. And Form and Foundation? I don't know why the name is, I'm sorry, I have no idea. I recognize the name, but that's it. Was Johanna Sojberg a masseuse? Pagluccia, objection to the Form and Foundation. What are you asking me? I'm sorry. When Joanna Sojberg worked for Jeffrey Epstein, did she perform massages? Did you have any sexual contact with her and the president or anybody other than Jeffrey Epstein? I don't really recall, but fair amount is how many massages you got from Joanna. I'm going to instruct you not to answer. It definitely does. Objection form. I already testified that I don't really recall Anushka. David Copperfield, page 2002. Search Kimmel in this one. Bro, I don't think Jimmy Kimmel's in this, okay? Yeah, he's not. Copperfield? Why the hell is David Copperfield on here? David Copperfield was at dinner and Epstein was there. And there was another girl present who looked young, and Joanna asked what school she went to, and Joanna did not recognize the school name as being a college, and she said it was possible it was a high school age girl. Joanna said Copperfield questioned me if I was aware what the girls were getting paid to find other girls. What? David Copperfield? No. I mean, I don't know anything about him. Have you ever met David Copperfield? Yes. Do you recall when you initially met him? Yes. Can you tell me what that was? Sure. Someone called me from the house and said that he would be there, and if I wanted to come have dinner, then I could meet him. So when I arrived at the house, he wasn't there yet, but I waited. I believe it's Sarah Kellen. There was another girl there. David Copperfield still uses pics from 1990 on all of his... Oh, he's not dead? All right. I don't want to do this, but I'm going to type it in anyway.